7 features Dragon Ball Sparking Zero must have or it may fail. With the new Dragon Ball game on the horizon, I want to talk about these 7 features I believe Sparking Zero must have or it will fail. If you guys can, let's get 100 likes on this video, as I'll be talking about 7 features that I'm sure a lot of you guys will agree we must have in this game. Let's get into it. Starting off with the first feature, Story Mode. Story Mode needs to accomplish one thing in my opinion, and that's retell the story of the Dragon Ball series. Fans have wanted a game that outlines the story of Dragon Ball Super. Now, let's be honest, Super doesn't have an expansive a lot of things that they need to cover, but they do need to cover a decent amount. The format of the story, this might get some people a little bit riled up, but I want it to be more like Budokai Tenkaichi 3 than Budokai Tenkaichi 2. Budokai Tenkaichi 2's story format I feel as though is a bit dragged. I feel as though with games like this, we really enjoy the combat, playing with the various characters, but I do want story mode to still cover a bit stuff, so I wanted to exist between Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and Budokai Tenkaichi 2 in the way they go about it. Story mode needs to have a good amount of length, but it can't be too long. Something they could do to add more value to the story mode is replayability. Perhaps when you beat story mode, they give you access to a super hard difficulty where they make the enemy stronger and have new tactics, and maybe they restrict you so that it gives you a crazy challenge. The second feature that this game needs or it may fail is great offline content. The offline content needs to be robust. What bothers me about some of these anime games nowadays is that there's not much to do outside of story mode and verse mode. Perhaps with offline modes like survival or even an arcade mode, it could all give us more to do. Add in a tournament mode and also incorporate that into, say, collecting items like the Dragon Balls or getting more custom items, and now you're just giving us a lot to do offline besides online. One thing that they could definitely do to make this game even more crazy is give us a robust tutorial mode, which will allow us to train and get better at this game, and then also incorporate proper controls, think fighters, so that way we can train more efficiently. The third feature in this game that has to be in is customization. In Budokai Tenkaichi 3, we had customization which allowed for you to increase your stats such as health, damage, defense, and it also allowed you to do other things like increase the amount of rushes you could do and vanishes. The customization even granted you Red Potara characters. These Red Potara characters, which you only got through, I believe, wishing via the Dragon Balls, these characters offered up like some souped up version, like super arcadey. If we had access to those type of characters, it'd be crazy. But then also think the cosmetic customizations like aura change or even costume changes. This could be cool. Imagine having a scouter on your character or a halo. These things will be accepted by many people in the fandom. A fourth feature that we need in this game, and I think it's probably one of the 2 most important features I've mentioned here today, and that's combat. Combat, in my opinion, needs to take some skill in order to be great. Far too many anime games feel as though that they're very arcade-like, and it doesn't take much to learn how to play the game and then essentially spam your way to victory. One thing that the Budokai Tenkaichi games did that I enjoyed was it existed in between the competitive combat scene and the arcade combat scene. And I'm not saying this just to be pizzazz. If you play games like Jump Force, or I'll give you guys another example. If you play games like the My Hero One's Justice games and you play a game like this, you notice that there's more defensive options. It takes more skill to win. You can't just necessarily spam your way to victory against another human player, but you play those games, you quite literally could win via spamming, depending on who you're fighting. One thing this game also needs to have besides just great combat is varied combat. I need variety in the way you go about fighting in this game because I don't want to see the same things being done and it becomes a very boring gameplay loop. There's some games, I'm sure all of us can agree, that once you get to a certain point of playing the game, you're essentially doing the same exact thing and it gets boring. The one game I can think of is not necessarily a fighting game, but it still brings up the point, is Final Fantasy 16. After a while, I felt like I was doing the same thing, same setup, just to beat the enemy the same way, with only a few different changes in the way I go about fighting that enemy. Traditional fighting games like Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, I feel as though have done great at introducing new systems which not only attract newcomers but change up the way you go about playing in their game. These systems allow these newcomers to get closer to the experienced players, but let's be real, it still will take experience in order for them to catch up to the experienced players, but new way of playing the game offers a new way of having fun. Sparking Zero needs to have something like this in its gameplay. Easy entry, but have a high ceiling for experienced players. The fifth feature in this game that I need is crossplay. Now, I'm gonna be real, crossplay is probably like the least needed in terms of if this game will succeed or not, but when we heard that local play wasn't gonna be in this game, still haven't been fully confirmed, it's one of those things that makes you wonder, like, how are we gonna have fun if we can only play online against friends? Well, what if you have access to a buttload of friends? I know when Call of Duty went crossplay and you no longer had to have the same platform in order to play with your friends, that was like the best thing ever. Games like Fortnite, you could be on your Switch, your friend could be on their phone, you can play with them, and that's great. I think we need something like that in order to ensure the success of this game long term. A sixth feature that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero definitely needs is DLC. Season Pass DLC, I feel as though is going to be a thing, and not just one, not just two, maybe several. If we look at games like Shinobi Striker and Xenoverse 2, depending on how well this game does, we could probably be seeing this game being played for years, plural, like 5 years at this point. I can imagine us getting this game going into the PS6. But let's be real, one thing that would be a bother is if they try to give us one character per DLC pack. Games like Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8 is doing that with one character per DLC pack for the whole season. So each season they get a character until the season pass is complete. If they did that for Sparking Zero, I'm not sure if it will work, especially if we consider how competitive and how complex the combat is going to be. If it's closer to the simpler side, I don't think we're going to be able to get away with having just one character every 3 months. Instead, they may have to opt to giving us multiple characters per pack in order to satisfy most fans. I think 3, similar to what Pirate Warriors 4 is doing with its characters. That might be the best course of action. And let's not also forget that DLC would also give us the ability to get patches and address game issues and exploits that are happening in the game. DLC is a very big piece of PvP surviving, and it has to be in this game. And the most important feature for this game's survival and success is online. Online is one of those modes that we're going to interact with the most. It needs to have player match, it needs to have rank match. It should also have leaderboards. Let us know what the characters are being mostly used. I would even want us to get customization to take online. Some more so needed features that I'm sure a lot of us would want is tournament and endless mode with spectator mode on it. We gotta have a robust online because in cases like storm connections, if you get it wrong, you might hurt the game in the long run. But hey, who's to say that storm connections doesn't pull around and get better in the long run? Only time will tell. But for that, I mentioned 7 features that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero must have in order to succeed. Let me know down in the comment section if you guys agree, disagree, and let me know 7 features you gotta have for this game to be successful in your eyes. So let's try to get this video to 100 likes. I am Makai San, and I'll catch you guys later.